gotta find out what that background is. I don't know what that
Dude,
is.
look, I'm getting like. So
Rick and Morty?
this is hard. No, I don't know, because if that is, it sucks, and I don't like Rick and Morty. But that looks like Borderland crystals, like from the video game Borderlands, which is my favorite video game ever. And so that looked
You like
awesome.
it better?
That looked like that. I do, but they're probably 1A and 1B. Yeah. But Assassin's Creed is fantastic. They come out with games more regularly, so you get a more frequent amount. There's only been technically 4 Borderland games. So and they're more spread out, and I think graphically it's entirely two entirely different things. Right. Assassin's Creed's like this beautiful, almost trying to make it as realistic as possible. Yeah, and then Borderlands is like purposely cartoonish, over the top cartoonish, and I think like the hand drawn, almost like how it kind of looks like this aspect of it. It's a fun, unique thing, and it's a looter, so it's a game that you have to spend a lot of time digging out boxes and opening stuff and collecting guns and then cashing them in for money, and then you know what I mean. Like it's a game that you have to spend a lot of time in doing and playing, which I thankfully have a lot of. So yeah, Borderlands just it's more fun. I actually have it downloaded recently. Been thinking about replaying it for like the 4th time. So we'll see. But yeah. Anyways, so that got on a tangent, but there you go.
Yeah, but Jacob, you gotta find out what that is.
So it said when I looked at it, so I just Googled Zoom background pictures, and this popped up, and it said Adult Swim. Does Rick and Morty come on Adult Swim?
I think it does, actually.
It seems like it would be, right? So maybe it is. Let's just call it Rick and Morty then. Which again, I've only tried watching it a couple times. The dude keeps burping, like in the whole first episode. And it's really gross and off-putting, and I haven't been able to watch it. That's the same reason I stopped watching Big Mouth, because it just kind of got gross. And I was just like, I don't want to. I think the guy was like fucking a bath mat, like a floor bath mat or whatever it was, pillow. Some insane thing. You know what I mean? Like it just got too much. But anyways, whatever.
Yeah. All right. So
welcome back. What's up?
Yeah. So welcome to episode 34 of the Family Based Podcast. My name is. Oh yeah, we're recording. Episode 34. I'm Jake.
I'm Alwag.
All right, Stouse.
You stumped me. I don't know what that was. I'm Dragon.
I am not calling you. I'm not saying that.
You gotta call me Nighthawk. Is it Nighthawk? I couldn't remember. Was it Nighthawk?
It is.
It is Nighthawk. Yeah. Okay.
All right. So we actually recorded 3 episodes, pre-recorded 3 episodes, and now we're talking for the first time since early July. So a lot has happened, and we're gonna jump right into it. So as you're hearing or watching this, yesterday was the trade deadline. For us recording, that was just a few hours ago. So I want to just jump right into that because that's the most recent. So the big thing that happened was that Juan Soto was traded. It's really the biggest thing that happened in the trade deadline.
You don't think it was Scott Efros getting traded, or Michael Givens? I think it was Michael Givens, Jake.
I know we're Cubs fans, but no. So, but in your opinion, what was the biggest, or maybe a thing that we're not paying attention to, something important that happened during the trade deadline? What happened, in your opinion?
I'm gonna. Jesus, I had a cough. Okay.
Houston.
Vasquez? Yeah. Why do you think that's a big deal?
Cool, Robot Man.
All right, so while you work out some
I'm
tag
gonna say,
issues,
yeah. I'm gonna say it was everybody else that the Padres got. How about that? So Soto and Bell are obviously like this. Well, Soto, I know Bell was just kind of like Bell's like the moon circulating the Earth that is Juan Soto in this. Like Juan Soto was the guy that they were gonna get. Bell they just happened to get as well.
okay, okay,
But yeah, I would say it's everybody else that the Padres got. So Hader, Brandon
yeah,
Drury,
yeah,
and that was it, right? I mean, I know there's a bunch of other smaller moves and stuff, but I would say those two are just as important to the team and what's going to happen if they're going to make a run to the World Series as Soto and Bell are going to be. So, and the guys that they're losing are important, but they're not like, they're not on the level of the guys they brought in. So, and if you can win now, then you say, what Les Snead on the Rams said, you fuck them picks, right? So you just say fuck it. You get rid of the minor leaguers. You just say we're gonna win now, and say whatever. I'm gonna because so many teams and so many organizations are so handicapped by we have to prepare for the future, prepare for the future, prepare for the future
you
that
know
they
that,
sacrifice winning now. Cubs are the perfect example of this
yeah,
every year, year
yeah,
in, year out.
yeah,
So, and it's like kind of refreshing to see an organization just say, we're going to absolutely go for it right now. We are going to crash, or we're either going to hit and we're going to win. We're going to win a World Series or 2 World Series, whatever their window is, or they're going to crash and burn in the most spectacular fashion ever. And we're here for it. I mean, this has made baseball relevant and exciting again, I think, in a lot of ways. It's like ESPN was actually covering baseball
yeah,
significantly
yeah,
today, which is
yeah.
refreshing to see. And it was just really cool. So I would say my final answer, though, are the two main guys the Padres got outside of Soto and Bell, though.
Okay. Yeah, so Dallas, you were actually saying Christian Vasquez. Is there a reason behind that? So the audio,
Way to leave a girl in suspense.
yeah. Why don't we work on that and we'll come back? I will
All right, Jake, what
say,
about you?
you know what? Because we're Cubs fans, I'm going to try to not focus on what things affected the Cubs. So I will say this: the Yankees made it, I think, the biggest difference for a team that they won. They were the first team this year to have 70 wins, and they
Yeah.
still upgraded their team. That to me is impressive. I'm like, how? Like, almost in some ways, that's like saying, I know we're good, but we still need some pieces to get there.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, if I was a Yankees fan watching that, that means that they're really pushing it in. As much as the Padres are pushing it in, the the Yankees have the best record, and they're still making moves. So they started off the trading with Angel Benintendi. They got Scott Efros from the Cubs. They traded for Frankie Montas, and they got a reliever from the A's as well.
Hello?
They yeah. There
Hey.
we go. There we go. So Ben, you got the Padres. I'm saying the Yankees simply because they're not content with just being the best team. They want to be
Yeah.
easily the best team. So to me, that stands out. Yeah, so let's see if we got some audio this time.
I don't know. Maybe.
Hey, let's go. Let's just
Hey, there
ride
we
with it.
go. All right, so Dallas, you said Christian Vasquez like 5 minutes ago. What do you think?
Came back to me on that. I think he's got a great name. And
Okay.
Wow.
yeah. Yeah.
All right, good pick, brah.
I'm glad you guys all
All right, so
support that.
the real MVP of the trade deadline, and I'll just say this to the podcast listeners who aren't privy to this information, is the whole reason
I think
that this even
we should do
looks
that.
remotely decent and that we have any sort of connection or any sort of audio or anything is because of Jake. And the real MVP was Jake constantly updating us with the trade deadline stuff so that I didn't have to. So Jake, big shout out to you. It's really genuinely
Yeah.
appreciative of you putting in the time and effort onto this. Just on our side, between the three of us. McNeil was trying to get on. I think he got held up at football practice, but
Yeah.
in his and I'll say this, and I'll kind of kick it a different way. Is my biggest loser of the trade deadline is the White Sox. Like they got Jake Diekman, I think, and they kind of just sat on it afterwards. I don't think they were in a good enough position or a comfortable enough position to kind of sit and rest on their laurels. They don't. I don't even think they're in first place, and if they are, or they're in third place or something, right? Third place. So they're not even. I mean, at that point, like it's hard. Okay, so third place, you're at the buy or sell. Like that's the peak. You know, are you going to make a run? Nobody from the AL Central is going to make the wild card, so you have to win that division. So you get one shot, and you don't even attempt to make a move to get anybody that's going to help you at any significant position that you're lacking at right now. And I think Diekman's fine, but he's not. He's not the answer. He's not gonna. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I'm just disappointed that the White Sox didn't do more. That would be, that for me that's the biggest thing, or one of the bigger things. What about you?
Yeah, I would agree. Is that the White Sox are the one? I would say one of two, really three losers that stand out. The White Sox have underperformed, and so they're in third place. But the major thing is that they didn't make moves, but their first place Twins did make moves, and that's something that you can't really justify. You can't even justify not rolling the dice.
Two pitching pieces too. I mean,
Yeah,
that's going to help a bullpen and a starter, right? It looks like. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's going to help them definitely down the line. I mean, because our biggest thing, and I remember when we were making our predictions at the beginning of the year, it was a foregone conclusion, right? Remember, you made the card
Right.
before we even said it was going to be the White Sox. They're going to be
Right.
all of us, all four of us.
Right.
And I think we all made fun of the Twins. I think we all conversely said the Twins were going to be bottom feeders and going to be terrible. And here we are looking like complete doofuses. And the Twins are, looking pretty good in that division. The Guardians didn't make any significant moves that I saw, which, is kind of surprising. But Jimenez looks great, and Ramirez is still great. I think they're going to be tough, and I thought the Tigers were going to be better than they were, and they're kind of ass. Like maybe like Javi looks terrible. Whatever. I'm getting way off track. But it was for me the biggest disappointment was the White Sox, and then Boston not moving JD Martinez was kind of surprising. He's a bat, and I feel like somebody could have used a DH because DH is a thing. He doesn't have to play the field, so somebody could have used a righty hitter. You know what I mean? Like the Mets ended up getting Darren Ruff and trading JD Davis.
Yeah.
But I feel like if I'm the Mets, getting JD Martinez and giving up a little bit more is worth the risk over Darren Ruff and giving up a little bit less. Does that make sense? I'm saying taking the bigger risk on JD Martinez would be more worth it. More risky, but more worth it.
Yeah. I would say, I'm confused about the Red Sox because they could have made a lot of moves. Xander Bogaerts is a free agent at the end of the year. We're not sure what he's doing. JD Martinez. And really, you could have tried to move Evaldi, but they didn't. And I'm really confused because they're in last place. they're in the AL East and they're in last place. The Orioles are better than the Red Sox this year.
And over
Very
500,
confused.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm very confused. But I said the White Sox were one of the three standouts, losers. I'd say the White Sox by default, the only the only team that didn't make a
Hail for
move
love.
was the Rockies.
Yeah.
The Rockies didn't make what they didn't trade one player. They didn't like try to add in one. They were just content with who they got, and you shouldn't be if you're pretty bad. So them, but then the third team that's I'd say loser on this is no bias on this, but the Cardinals. The Cardinals wanted to go after Juan Soto. They didn't come close. They weren't willing to give up Dylan Carlson, which I understand to some degree, but that's
Juan
it's
Soto's
a
a proven
it's
thing. Give me the proven thing
it,
over the potential thing any day.
it's a big loss for them to not get it. And then they had Jose Quintana, and again, as a Cubs fan, I'm like, good luck, bro. Good luck.
Yeah. We've been there, brother.
But
Been there, brother.
the move that really solidified the Cardinals as
Hey,
one
yes,
of the
hear
three
me.
losers is that the Cardinals traded center fielder Harrison Bader for a
Yeah.
reliever from the Yankees, Jordan
Yeah,
Montgomery.
surprising.
I'm just like, he's a fan favorite, and you trade him for a reliever who can help you for sure, but it's not going to be
How long is
that.
Bader under contract for? Would be the only thing. Maybe he's going to be coming up, and the Cardinals are like, hey, we're the Cardinals. We can't afford an Arenado, a Goldschmidt, and a Bader, and an O'Neill when he's coming up, and you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Maybe
I don't know.
that had something to do with it. I'm not saying it did. I'm not saying it didn't, but it is surprising. It is surprising. Adding Quintana, I mean, like you said, we did that last year. We did that
Whatever.
when we made what's going to be what looks like one of the worst trades in baseball history. This is going to go down at, like on that Bartolo Colon level trade of infamy of all time. Cease looks insane. I mean, Rick Titty, he sucks, but he's a wash at this point because if you put Cease versus Quintana, I mean, it's night and day. Cease is doing things that almost no pitchers have ever done before in baseball. So that trade is going to go down in history, and I think it looks bad. It looks even worse because it was Cubs and White Sox. You know what I mean? I think that adds to it. But for the Cardinals to add Quintana, trade Bader, and then not make any moves on Soto does suck. But I think
It doesn't make sense.
I think you're 100% right about the Rockies, but it's also hilarious because we talked about this the moment Chris Bryant signed there. You were like, "What is he doing?" Dude, he's played like 11 games this season and has made a ton of money, and he's just living it up in Colorado, just hanging out. You know, like he's already got it all, dude. Make your money. He's got the success. He's got a beautiful wife. He's got a family. He's got, everything else. He's got money. Just live your best life. That is the literal American dream. So good on you, KB. Good on you. And Chris Bryant or Rizzo actually looks pretty good. I'm really happy for him. He's having a nice season on the Yankees. And I just wish better for Javi. I know we were kind of talking about it before we hopped on, maybe. Yeah, I wish Javi looks completely lost, and it's messed up. It's sad to see.
It seems like nowadays I'll just say this one thing about Javi, because again we're Cubs fans, is that Javi seems to play really well lately when he's either the villain or he's got some personal to play for. Besides that, he looks unmotivated. I don't know, but that's. I mean, I'm assuming. I don't know that, but
No,
it looks
how
that
old he is?
way. How old Javi is? I think he's like
Series,
30,
like maybe just
31.
Yeah, I would
Yeah,
say
man.
I would say barely 30.
Yeah,
but
maybe
I mean,
30.
maybe he's also peaked already. Hate to say it.
Maybe. I mean that wow. Wow. Um, that happens. It really is. It sucks.
Yeah.
Like he never really had major injury history that I remember. Like he was never out for seasons or significant chunks of seasons at a time. But some guys just hit like their peak at like 28, 29. And then he just becomes a guy who maybe he's going to bounce around, on a couple different teams for the rest of his career or something, and that's just what it is. But he's going to
Seasons.
be a Cubs legend forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Cubs will retire his number at some point, and I think him, Rizzo, and Bryant all get their numbers retired
They'll
at some.
retire everyone's from 2016.
They're going to be using. They're going to have to use letters or decimals. Like
It's like we're playing
16.4.
Battleship out there.
Yeah,
A6.
A7. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's like the Yankees. The Yankees are going to run out of numbers, dude. They're retiring everybody's number. You played 6 minutes with the Yankees. Joey Gallo is going to get his number retired.
I hope not. So, what about Joey Gallo? How did they pull off a trade with the guy who can't hit the ball, and the Dodgers took him?
You get him for his
How
defense.
did that happen?
You get him for his defense.
Because the Dodgers can add me and they'll still win.
That's the other thing.
Starting
Josh
on the
makes a
map.
good point. They have the largest margin for error. Well, them and the Yankees essentially. But now, I mean, with the Padres making all the moves that they did, maybe the Dodgers are kind of kicking themselves for not making maybe more significant moves. Maybe the Dodgers have to kind of be looked at here, like, were they not serious enough players at the deadline? Because now the Padres just went all in, just said mega all in, fuck it, like we're sending everything, and then
Right?
the Dodgers kind of just sat on their hands and didn't really do much. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of plays out. But I think you bring in Gallo at this point strictly for defense and the fact that he's a left-handed bat. Like, I mean, he's essentially a worse power hitting version of Cody Bellinger, if that makes sense.
And
Like
Cody
Bellinger's great defensively, but he doesn't really hit well. And Gallo's like a worse hitter and a slightly worse defender, but right at the same level almost.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Yeah.
I just can't believe they pulled off getting him out of New York. That makes I don't know how.
I thought they were going to cut him. I thought the Yankees were getting ready to cut him.
I mean, his batting average, you would say he deserved it.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So the Yankees were like, well, if we can get something for him, something's better than nothing,
So I wanna ask you guys this. This will be a topic for later, so we'll cover this a little bit more. But there were two trades that stuck out to me. And that was the first one that really happened, and that was Ben Attendee going to the Yankees, and then Whit Merrifield after the deadline still got traded. I'm not sure how that works, but it got announced afterwards. Whit Merrifield is going to Toronto. Now, the reason those stuck out to me is that of the Royals players, those are 2 of the 10 that were unvaxxed and could not go to Toronto. How in the world does that make sense for the Yankees and Blue Jays to trade for players who, at this point, are going to have to wait a month to play in Toronto? How does that make sense?
I would say maybe they made a deal. Maybe Ben Attendee was like, or Ben Attendee was like, yeah, I'll consider it, or I'll get vaccinated. Or Merrifield was like, maybe I'll consider it. Dude, I mean, at this point, We are almost 3 years into this shit, and you're still not vaccinated, right? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing for real?
You're still dying.
Like you're still 1 million people die, and you're still like, nah, like for real. And like whatever your personal choices, I get it, fine. But then you have to be willing to take the sacrifice of not playing in games where you're not allowed to play. And maybe the Yankees are like, well, we're not going to pay you for games you don't play in Toronto if you're not vaccinated. And if Ben Attendee's comfortable losing out on that money, fine. If Whit Merrifield's comfortable losing out on half his game's money from here on out, fine. If that's what it means to not be vaccinated to you, and you're willing to take that financial hardship, and you can suffer through it, then fine. But don't tell me it's I'm just at this point we're 3 years into this bullshit. I'm tired of people still making excuses or still not like it's come on at this fucking point. Over 1 million people died, guys.
right.
Like this is for reals. So
whatever. Yes. So in fairness, I brought it up simply for the angle of like actually putting players on the field and trading prospects for guys that have the potential of not playing. The angle of should they or should they not get vaxxed, that's a different topic, and I think we all agree they should and people should, but it's more of the angle of how could you trade proven players for the possibility of someone not doing it. And we can get into that more because that is a topic I actually do want to talk about because it became a topic again during that month off. So I want to transition simply by saying these last three things were not trades, but I want to mention them. Shohei Ohtani was being floated as trade bait. He was not traded, which I think might be a dumb move long term, but up for debate. The second thing that happened is that Austin Riley got a 10-year, $212 million extension. He's 25, so at 25, he's easily set until he's in his mid-30s. So different.
37,
yeah. So, but the last thing has to do with the Cubs and the Super Bowl getting there. The Cubs did trade away bullpen. Oh, solely bullpen. So they traded away them, but the Cubs did not trade away Willson Contreras or Ian Happ, who this was the major storyline for a month. They were saying, we're going to trade him. We're going to do this. They had their farewells. They had their goodbyes. They had emotional moments. So I want to ask that.
Well, okay, but I also want to get into that too.
So the question is, I would like to start off with is it a dick move, like, or is it just the unwillingness to trade them for less than what they're perceived to be worth?
All right, this should be a new segment called "Is It a Dick Move?"
Yeah,
and I think it matters, and it's something that we might not ever know, probably not, is how much and how seriously the Cubs were looking at moving them. How much effort did they put in? What were they really willing to take? What was the floor? Like, what would be worth getting rid of Contreras and getting rid of Happ? Like, what's it actually worth to the Cubs? And I think that they might have overplayed their hand. And as much as I love Contreras, and I've said it before, said it a million times, I'm a big Ian Happ guy. And I ate a lot of shit for a lot of times, a lot of years, baby. But he's doing it. He's finally having a great year. And but I've just been really, I'm excited. I just think that they're going to end up trading him during the offseason is what I think is going to happen. I mean, I just think they hold on to him for 6 more months and see maybe what you can test when things shake out at the end of this season with everything being so crazy. Maybe you kind of see how free agency pans out. Maybe you feel like you're not that far away, and maybe a couple free agents away from having a team built around Nico Horner and Willson Contreras and Seiya Suzuki, and you could start like maybe you can convince yourself that you're not that far away. I would just be so interested to be a fly on the wall in the Cubs uh, exec offices and trying to figure out what was their true motivation in not making this trade. Was it due to lack of trying, or was it because are they dicks? And I guess you guys will be the judge of their dictitude.
So
That's
Dallas,
my beef.
Dallas, you said right away. You said this was a dick move. Why do you say that?
I don't know if I should talk anymore.
Go ahead.
What?
Nice.
I'm
Damn.
what?
Okay.
He's lagging a bit.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
sure
All
is.
right.
No.
No. All right, Dal. I'm sorry.
I'm just gonna stay.
Just go. Just go. Completely uninterrupted. Go right now. Start and go.
All right. If you guys can move, because you don't do it mid-season. Like if they ends up trading him, they never should have brought it up around the trade deadline. If they were going to hold on to him to see how the season played out, try to string along some type of a comeback, which is not going to happen. But talk about it then at the end with him, because it's a big deal. Like he has to uproot his family and life. Like don't make it seem like you're going to dump the guy for anything like the washing machine. Like if it's because they had no good options that offered,
That's
or whatever,
called mnemonics. And the
publish that.
Mm-hmm.
They call that the mnemonics when you get
And
traded
I don't
for
know.
a washing machine.
The mnemonics, yeah, classic.
No.
Mnemonics.
So Jed Hoyer, the Cubs. I forget his actual title. I think it's like President Operation. Either way, he doesn't deserve it. But he said he had a press conference today after all this, and he said pretty much that they didn't make moves because what they were looking for, they never made a guarantee that they were going to trade Contreras and Happ. He said we told them that we're gonna talk to teams about you, but we're going to be looking for things. We want to have a return, of course. So pretty much what he was saying was that, oh, this was not a guarantee. I'm like, then you should have been saying that to fans.
Right.
Because for a long time, I mean, that's, if you've watched this, if you've heard this, I have said every single freaking week, extend Contreras, do not accept whatever. So I've been saying it. So clearly, I did not get the message. So it seems like, to be honest, they're trying to rewrite the narrative. And I agree with Ben. They're gonna offload them if they can in the off season. But Contreras is a free agent. They could outright lose him. So why not trade him?
After that shit move, I would fucking leave anyway. Eat shit. I would leave.
Here's my thing, right? He's probably the best catcher in baseball.
Yeah.
For that fact alone, you probably could have gotten a ton. So I don't know what the Cubs wanted. I don't know what it was that you're saying Jed Hoyer had his mindset on, that he was so convinced that they could get. But like I said, I would be interested to be in that room and listen to how that conversation went down. I want to see full fat Jonah Hill, fist pumped at Moneyball style.
Yeah.
In that, yeah, exactly. In that Cubs office. That's what I want to see. That's what I wish I could see.
Yeah. So you know what? I feel like at this point, I am always gonna be like, I'm gonna question Jeff to say. I don't think I believe it. I think Jed Hoyer's lying.
Hmm.
As simple as
Yeah.
that. But the other thing I do want to mention about the Cubs, and then we'll move on, is that before the beginning of the year, Tom Ricketts was on the record saying that we have the resources to make this team a winner and we're going to spend it. And then I found this article like 5 days ago simply because it popped up as just so you don't forget. Tom
Mhm.
Ricketts and Jed Toyer both said they were going to spend money to make this team a winner this year. I think we can also
Hilarious.
say that Jed Hoyer's not the only liar in that building.
Yeah. I mean, but that's the nature of the beast, though, in its entirety. Is if you're not
Yeah.
lying, you're not lying. You're not trying. You gotta do what you gotta do. You kind of have to be a salesman. That's part of the business. You have to be that carnival barker. You have to be able to talk your shit, and he gets paid a ton of money as the owner of the Cubs
Yeah.
to say whatever, and he is shielded by money. As long as he wants to own the Cubs, he'll own the Cubs. You know what I mean? He doesn't give a shit about what the three of us are saying. He doesn't give a shit about what anybody else is saying. He's going to make more money tomorrow than that goddamn Mega Millions person made over the weekend, and he's not even going to blink an eye.
Yeah.
He's just going to wake up, and it's just going to be a thing, and he's going to move on about his life. And it's disappointing because I think the Cubs, we all saw going into this year with the addition. Suzuki was cool and it's exciting and
Yeah.
it's a cool piece, but the addition of like Smiley and Miley and you know Jan
Yeah.
Gomes, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like these aren't additions you're making to try to put together a World Series run. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And the fact that the Cubs didn't even try to trade any of those guys, veteran lefty starters, down the stretch is surprising.
Yeah.
But it's just I'm optimistic. Maybe they are delusional enough to think that they have enough minor leaguers coming up,
No.
which the minor leaguers do look great. Minor leaguers do look great, but that is only until they step feet on Wrigley Field and those games start to really matter. Does it matter how great you look? So
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting. I keep saying that because it's the most excited I've been about like the second half of a baseball season in a long time, and then leading into an off season where so much can happen for not just the Cubs and the future of the team. If they can move Hap, if they can move some of these, Contreras and these other veteran pieces for proven minor leaguers or like the minor league ready, major league ready talent level guys, and you can start building for a future and just say, let's go, let's do it. That would be exciting, and just put out a young team and just say, whatever, we're going to learn by playing. Maybe that's what their intention is. I don't know, but that would be, as a Cubs fan, that's what I would like to see.
Yeah. All right. So, as you can tell, we're all pretty much tapped out on the Cubs' lag moves right now. So, on that happy note, Ben, you found a graphic that you found interesting. Do you want to intro that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was a couple weeks ago. I was scrolling on Twitter, and I came across this thing, and it was a report. And let me see if I can read where it's from. It says The Hustle. It looks like they had the cost of a family to go to a baseball game. For this is the total of 4 tickets 4 hot dogs, 2 beers, and 2 sodas, plus parking. And this is for the 2022 season. So, Dal. So Jake's already seen this list as well, so I know he has the answers as well. So you give me what you think is the cheapest game in Major League Baseball, which, I'll give you a hint, has been talked about on this podcast before, and who you think is the most expensive ball game, which has also been talked about. I mean, obviously, we talk about all the parks because this is what we do. But, yeah, go ahead. So what do you think is the cheapest? What do you think is the most expensive? And how much do you think it is?
Cheapest is Oakland, and they give you money, or it costs.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
So I did not realize Oakland is in the top half most expensive.
What?
On average, it costs $204.25 for a family of 4 to go to an Oakland A's game.
Oh my God. When I went there, like my one ticket cost $12.
Well, where did you sit?
I'm not
It's
even
a giant
joking.
football stadium. Did you sit all the way up at the moon? Like on the lights?
You're goddamn right I did.
On the goalpost?
Level. I moved down to the 7th row.
Yeah.
No one cared. It was crazy. So that's why
They're like, we're the A's, man. It's all right.
All right. So Ben, who is the cheapest?
So it was my pick for the most enjoyable ballpark experience. It is the Arizona Diamondbacks. $126.34. The average ticket is only $22. Beer $4.99. Beautiful.
You're making this up.
Soda $2.99. Hot dog $2. Parking $14. For a grand total of $126. Why? What is the reason I have to lie?
Fake. You just wanted people move there.
All right, so Das, why don't you guess what is the most expensive stadium to go to?
Well, everything is backwards now. I don't know down and what's true and what's strange. I would have. I mean, then I'm instinctively, even though I want to as a joke, but let's go with New York.
Who?
Yankees, obviously. Yankees.
So the Yankees are actually third. Jake, why don't you break it down?
So the Yankees, the average ticket costs $61.60. Beer is $6. Soda $3. Each hot dog is $3, and parking is $26.50 for a grand total of $302.86.
Parking's insane.
They are in third. They're in third place. So who do you think is above them?
Boston.
Correct. Boston's number 1, most expensive. $324. $61.71 for the ticket. $9.50. So you're saving 50 cents by going to a. Oh no, you're not. You're spending $3.50 more for beer than at the Yankees. $5.50 for a soda, $6 for a hot dog, $23.53 for parking. I can't even imagine where there is to park at Fenway. Maybe beyond the Monster, and then you just have to worry about your car getting clobbered. I'm not going to pay $24 to get maybe my car smashed and have to file insurance and shit. Yeah, I worked at State Farm. I know what that's like. No, thank you. That's a headache. Shout out State Farm. But also, where the hell is there to park at Wrigley? Is there a parking lot at Wrigley?
It's not a parking
people
lot.
street park? You can't street park. Yeah. So
behind
I
people's
just
homes.
wonder where they're getting that number. Oh yeah, maybe the lots. Those lots, like the restaurant lots, are down the street. Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
Yeah,
dude, look at that parking for Astros games. $9.30, significantly cheaper than most places.
Where
oddly
Who was
specific,
second?
$9.40 for the Tigers. It was Wrigley, yeah. Yeah, so here, I'll just do a quick rundown. So it's Red Sox, Cubs, Yankees, Astros, Nationals are your top 5. And then it goes Dodgers, Giants, Rangers, White Sox, Cardinals, which I was surprised that the White Sox was so high because for so long it was like $5 fucking tickets. And that was like during the Burley era when they like Konerko and they were actually pretty decent. Then you get like the Phillies, A's, Mets, Brewers, which I was surprised by because I thought the Brewers were a little bit cheaper than that. And then I haven't gone to a Royals game, Jake. Does that check out for you? Have you gone to a Royals game?
Yeah, I've been. It's. I think. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you that.
It looks like it's in the lower half. Yeah.
Yeah.
Parking was $25 though. Fucking.
This one says it's $20, but yeah, I mean, I'm guessing that checks out. Jake, you want to go through the rest of it?
Yeah, so the Royals, it's the Mariners, Seattle Mariners, then the LA Angels are in the bottom half, which is surprising to me. Then Toronto Blue Jays, the Padres, Twins, Guardians, Orioles, Tigers, Reds, and this is the bottom. Well, then the Rays, the bottom 5 are. No, sorry. So the Rays are the 5th. Sorry, I'm stumbling.
All right, so the Rays are the 5th least expensive. Then Colorado Rockies are number 4. $3 beers at Coors, which sounds crazy, but then you remember it's named after a beer, so not that crazy. And then Dale, your pick, the Pirates are third cheapest, so you weren't incorrect. And then the Marlins are second cheapest, and then the Diamondbacks, like we said. So I think there is a common factor. The 3 teams at the bottom all suck ass, so they are cheap. The top 3, 4, and 6 out of the top 5, or 5 out of the top 6 are major metropolitan cities. So again, that checks out. I don't know what the population numbers are on DC, but DC seems like an expensive place to live. So because it seems like an expensive place to live, it seems like that number kind of checks out at about $300. I could say this. I don't remember it being so expensive when we were kids, probably because it wasn't, right? Like, obviously things have just steadily
old now, boy.
I know, increased as, inflation and all that other stuff, all those fun trigger words like inflation and all that. But it makes sense why we didn't go to a ton of games when we were younger. And it's hard to attract fans if the games are inaccessible to go to. I think baseball always had like that thing where it was like it seemed cheap. It just seemed like a fun day out in the sun. You eat a hot dog, you keep score. You sit in the bleachers, you watch a game, you spend $10 on a ticket and a hot dog and a drink. You know what I mean? Like you have that kind of allure of what baseball is. And so you see some of the numbers and it is kind of crazy, right? Like you have a family of 4, which isn't a huge family. I mean, that's 4 people, right? It's not crazy numbers. You're not like 8, you're not like the Dugars and you have 36 kids. Imagine trying to bring them to a goddamn game. You got to rent out the bleacher section. It's like the left field are just my family today. But like that would be hard. Like cutting out of your budget, $350. I always like to just kind of overestimate that things are somehow going to be more expensive than this, right? So $350 to go to a Cubs game, like that's not an easy pill to swallow, regardless of your monetary income. You know what I mean? So it's hard to attract new fans. It really is if you make the games inaccessible to go to. And I think that's something that they have a problem with, and it's something that they could potentially be an issue down the line if it continues with trying to get new fans.
Yeah, I was thinking about this is that, of course, we were into baseball before we ever went to a game. But could you imagine, like, I know we didn't go to a lot, but just imagine we never went to any games. I feel like that would affect how attached we were to teams, to players, to the experience. Like again, I was thinking about this. Is that Dallas? I don't know how old we were, but we were so lucky to get these tickets behind the on deck circle at Wrigley Field when we were really young and didn't understand a whole lot of what was happening. But
Was that
we
the
were
Gary
sitting.
Sinise tickets?
Yeah, Gary Sinise was sitting behind
Yeah.
us, and it was great. There was a foul ball, and Dallas almost caught it, but the catcher stole it from out of his glove. All that. So,
Story of
but
your life, Dell.
Give me the ball.
those experiences. I'm saying, like going to a game. I mean, we were given those tickets, so we didn't have to buy them. But just going to a game was part of like it was the atmosphere, it was the action. Yeah, and then players behind you, people around you, just made you fall in love with the game. And I feel like it's just going to be super inaccessible for any family to do if that's not even physically an option.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think
So,
baseball is the most sensory of all the sports. There's a smell, there's a smell to the ballpark. You have all the food. You have everything, the fresh cut grass. You have the sound of the bat hitting the ball. You have the players chirping. You have the drunk guy to your left screaming. You have, bright blue sky, or maybe you have, a wonderful night game at San Francisco, and you see like the sun going down, like they did, like the Cubs just played the Giants over the weekend, and they had that beautiful picture over San Francisco, but the sun was like just starting to set, and the game was just getting underway, and it was gorgeous. And you have all these colors, and you have all these sights and sounds and smells, and baseball is just so sensory like that, and it is a different feeling being at the ballpark. To your point, Jake, than just watching it on TV. Like we talked about it, I think, because it has been a while. But Apple TV did a special broadcast where they didn't have announcers; they just had the sounds of the game.
Yeah.
And I talked about it then, how cool that was. And so it's scary to see that might happen, that people might get a little bit freaked out and not be able to go because of the cost of how much tickets and stuff.
Last thing I'll say on this is that I just, we just relocated, and there's a minor league baseball stadium like 10 minutes away from the house. And we were looking at tickets, and the tickets said the tickets were $15 a piece. I mean,
wow.
I was like, we should go to a game like ASAP. Like, it just makes it way more accessible and easy to go to.
Was that the Durham? The Durham Bulls?
No, it's where we just moved to. So here, so it's just down the road. It's like 8 minutes away. Yeah, so it's a single A affiliate team. So, but anyway, so
Where is it? Rancho Cucamonga.
Cucamonga, yeah.
Yeah, they got the wildest guy. They got the wildest names out there, bro.
I mean, yeah.
Jake, I'm gonna come visit. I really am. 'Cause I've been meaning to come out to California, and now I have an excuse to. My cousin David Aguilar, shout out David Aguilar. He lives in Hollywood. He lives in LA, so maybe I can make a trip out of it and see both you guys. That would be really cool.
Yeah, and
Like I'm just planning my vacations now.
yeah, I would say since my daughter's about to start school, let's talk about that a little bit more. But yes, so in three of those teams again living out here out in I don't live in LA. I have to always make that clear. Apparently, I live in the Inland Empire, that's east of LA. But the point being is that there are three
I live in
teams.
San Andreas.
Yeah, not San Andreas. No,
Grand
not that
Theft Auto.
No.
That was my Grand Theft Auto sound. Did you hear that? That was awesome.
Awful.
That was something. All right, so you know what? Let's actually just move to this. So, next topic is the All-Star game. So, talked about the trade deadline, talked about the Cubs for a second, talked about how inaccessible baseball games are getting now. But a couple weeks ago was the All-Star game, and part of the All-Star game week was the Home Run Derby. So, why don't we talk about the Home Run Derby first? And then we'll talk about the actual game. There's not much to talk about the game, to be honest, but let's talk about the Derby first. So, Dallas, what do you think is the bigger deal? That someone that Julio Rodriguez stepped up and kind of made a name for himself, getting to the finals, or your boy Albert Pujols actually making it to the second round, which is bigger deal?
Making a name for yourself. I mean, Albert. I think that's how Albert Pujols did it. So I think it's pretty of this one. And I kind of passed it off the torch like inadvertently. I'm sure he didn't do it on. And it's a beautiful thing getting to see Albert like do his thing. Like hit a couple home runs, a couple dingers. But
That's a
nice
cool
to see
shirt
him go
you
out
got
on
man.
top. Thank you so much, dude. I bought it. I found it selling T-shirts. Yard.
A yard sale?
Wait, hold on. For anyone watching
No, it wasn't
on
even there.
YouTube, Dallas, just stand up and show that shirt. This is solely for YouTube. Let's see that shirt.
It is rad.
Man,
Man, that looks like the inside of a dentist's office in 1994. You know how everything was like
Dan-
blue and wavy.
whatever. Dan
Yeah.
Marino would wear this shirt, dude. I bet.
In Ace Ventura, Dan Marino.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man. No, they both would.
All right.
Yeah. Sorry.
No.
all right.
Thank you for
But I
noticing.
100% agree with Dallas. Julio Rodriguez. Sorry, Dad. Go ahead.
You're good. Carry on.
Yeah, I mean, as great as them letting Albert do it and all that kind of stuff was, and having that thing where him and Cabrera were both on the team. I don't remember. Did that take a spot away from like an actual deserving player, or was that just included anyways? Like, were they always going to be there?
No. So the commissioner gets to pick if he wants one player from the AL and one player from the NL every year. It's up to him, and he chose to include them.
Oh, okay. So I was going to say,
Do you
because
not
that would
like
suck
that?
if you were like one of those. No, but I was saying it would suck if you were one of those fringe guys. And the commissioner was just like, well, I'm going to take one of these old dickheads over you. So I don't care what your contract states, or if you get like a nice little incentive bonus, if you make an all-star team, I'm going to take, Grandpa Joe and see.
Right.
Speaking of Grandpa Joe, wasn't that the guy in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? That bum?
Maybe.
That snake? What was the grandpa's name? He's just Sleepy Joe. He was oh no, there's another trigger word, Sleepy Joe. We're getting kicked off of YouTube
let's
now.
not do it.
Or Dunzo Bunzo. No, but that guy was just collecting unemployment, and all of a sudden Charlie walks in with that golden ticket, and homeboys doing jumping jacks and shit. Somebody should look into him. Somebody should investigate. What, I don't know where that's supposed to be. If that's supposed to be in like Manchester or something. It looks like Peaky Blinders is getting filmed down the street from where that was taking place in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Man, that'd be funny. That'd be a crossover, huh? The Peaky Blinders hanging out with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I don't know. I can't even tell you if it was in a discriminate town. I couldn't even tell you.
Yeah, interesting. When they was in the elevator, that's a good point.
Yeah,
chopping up Oompa Loompas.
You say chopping up. Wow. All right.
Have you seen Peaky Blinders?
No, I had not. And let's.
Well, they have razor blades in their hats, and that's why I was like, whoosh, like that. So they take their hat off with the razor blade in it, and they slash you across the face. Sorry about it. So imagine like to an Oompa Loompa though. Wild.
Like a lightsaber.
Yeah.
I mean,
What a razor blade.
The sharp blade. That's a knife.
Sorry, Jake. Go ahead.
no, the image of an Oompa Loompa being cut
Getting cut in
is
half.
just oh my
Disturbing.
gosh.
Whoa.
My nightmares. Whatever.
All right, so I have a conspiracy theory for you guys. So just
Oh, love
follow
it.
me on this. So the home run derby, the winner was Juan Soto, who just happened to get traded to the Padres a little bit after, 2 weeks after. My conspiracy theory is that if Juan Soto does not win the home run derby, the Padres don't have to give up as much for him than since he won and showed out. Is that any? The Padres had to give up more than the Dodgers, who were in the final three. So it's my theory that him winning the Derby had to do with how much the Padres had to give up.
So I guess it depends on how much you weigh the significance of the home run derby. In your conspiracy theory, it seems like you weigh it to mean a lot. So if that's the case, then yeah, because that makes sense. I mean, think about it. Schwarber was in the home run derby a couple years ago. He's always getting traded. You know, it's always just seems like, hey, maybe we can make this connection. I wish you would have told me. I would have did my Charlie Day like red string on the corkboard crazy mean
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
No, I think that's fun. I think I like sports conspiracy theories because there's no way to prove them. Like the New York Knicks and the wet envelope or the cold envelope or whatever it was with Patrick Ewing and
Oh,
and
I don't
that
know
kind of
that.
stuff. Oh, so you know how they used to do the lottery? It was like they made the envelope cold, so when you stick his hand in to pull it, he knew which one was going to be the number one pick. And he knew it was the Knicks, so the Knicks could get Georgetown, Patrick Ewing, and then so started their team that way.
I
But
did
but
not
again,
know
it's a
that.
sports conspiracy theory. It's a thing like how the Bulls magically were able to pull the number one draft pick and get Derrick Rose when we had like a 7% chance that year of getting the first
Yeah.
overall pick, and it just happens to be the kid from Chicago, and whatever. So whatever. But all that aside, I like conspiracy theories, and I am 100% in. If he doesn't win the home run derby, I don't even think he gets traded. What do you think of that? I'm going that far. The Padres are like, you know what? I don't think he's got the home run power. We're out. Boom. And then they get Hap and Contreras. Like their plan was, I thought this whole goddamn time, I was
Yeah.
convinced that Contreras was going to the Padres for like the last 2 days. And then all of a sudden, boom, Soto sweeps in, and then obviously you make that trade. You and I talked about it at the beginning of this podcast, like episode 1. Who you build a franchise around? It was Juan Soto. We said it.
Yeah.
So obviously, you and I can't ever really disagree with the trade to get him. If
No.
we're willing to start our team around him, he has to be better than everybody else. So you make that trade, of course, 10 times out of 10. But I love the idea that the home run derby actually matters.
Yeah.
That's cool.
All right. So I had one question about the All-Star game itself. Did you guys watch?
No, not a single second.
Dallas?
Oh,
No.
I watched
A little bit.
This much?
A little bit.
maybe 2-3 innings.
Oh,
I
that's
saw the
way
NL
more.
doing well, and looking promising, and I just stopped. I was like,
Okay.
Dude, this is not like 2 or 3 innings. This is like 5 pitches, bro.
Yeah.
oh, I wish.
All right. So I watched like 6 or 7 innings simply because for one thing, I wanted to watch Contreras in what I thought was going to be his last time as a Cub. Turned out not to be the case. But so I was watching for that. But but the actual game, the game itself was boring. It was 3-2. It's kind of a pitching matchup. But to me, the All-Star game, I had just one point though, is that the game proves that mic'd up players are great.
Yeah.
Pitchers being mic'd up, catchers being mic'd up, hitters being mic'd up, everyone. Just if you give the mic to one player every inning, that would make watching baseball so much more fun. So that's it. That's all I had. The game itself was pretty boring. It was decided by
Yeah, I mean,
three home runs.
I saw the umpire cam, I think it was, where it was kind of like over the shoulder of the catcher. That was pretty cool. I remember, I don't know if you guys remember this, but back in the 90s, for some reason, I distinctly remember it being the All-Star game in Colorado. But they had the catcher cam, so the catcher had like basically a GoPro on his helmet, and he was catching, and it was like broadcasting the game, and I thought that was the coolest shit in the world. Like that gives such a cool visual of a strike zone from such a unique angle, and such an important angle from the baseball field. And I always wondered why they never went back to that. Like if you want to, if like again, if another thing is to bring in viewers, which I know it is in every sport, to attract new viewers. If your idea is to bring in new viewers, you have to integrate and make things fun. Like make the All Star game ridiculous, bro. Here's my idea: like revamp the All Star game, and this is what I'm going to say. And then I think we can move on from the All Star game because we're going to have to get into another serious-ish topic in a second.
Yeah.
But get rid of the All Star game as it is, right? Whatever. They tried making it count for the World Series, and everyone didn't like that at all, right? Until they got rid of it, and then was like, perfect. Do you guys remember in MVP baseball? You would have that hitting complex where it would be like a bunch of ramps and like abandoned cars, and you would hit it like targets and stuff, and it would be worth points. And you would have to hit like, it would make you hit a ground ball in the opposite field or hit a fly ball dead center. You know what I mean? Make that. Make a fun like thing. So make hitters have to hit like these awesome zones. Make it like darts essentially. Like you're hitting these targets out in the field where it's cost points. Like the skills competition on the NFL Pro Bowl, I think is one of the funnest things that they do because it really showcases all of their unique talents. And I think if you could see a pitcher's throwing through like significantly tighter and tighter targets or something like that, or they don't even necessarily have to throw hard, but throw like, you know what I mean? You're accurate. You're a professional pitcher. Do the best bunt competition. See who's fastest, first to third and then second to home or something like that. You know what I mean? Like showcase your athletes as individuals and talents in a new and a unique way that I think would be a lot of fun. I don't know if you saw what Big Cat suggested from Barstool. I'm not the biggest Barstool fan in the world, but he suggested, it's ludicrous and it would drive me nuts, but he suggested if you're having a celebrity throw out the first pitch, that the first pitch actually count towards the game, whether it's a strike or a ball to start the count for the hitter at the start of the inning. So it's whether it's the starter's down, 1-0 to Trey Turner or 0-1 to Trey Turner to start the game. So I think you would have to change your strategy for, celebrity first pitches. I'd be like, my celebrity first pitch is Mark Pryor. Scary Wood is any recently retired pitcher who could probably still throw it through the strike zone.
Yeah, that's
I thought
probably
that was
not going to happen.
No, absolutely
Um,
not.
but as you did mention, I did want to bring up something a little bit more serious, and that is, we're going to move from the All-Star game to something about this. So in July, I think in our episodes, but also after, we talked about unvaccinated players, and we even talked about earlier this episode. It's that unvaxxed players are not only not being able to travel to Toronto, playing those games in Toronto, but they are losing money and a significant amount of money. And I simply want to read off this list because this is not everyone. And I'll say this at the end. So I'll list off these names because these names have been made public. I'm not outing these players. This has been in the public record. So Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, Chris Sale, Andrew Lee, Whit Merrifield, Max Kepler, Robbie Ray, Dylan Cease, Alex Bohm, Kyle Gibson, Aaron Nola, JT Realmuto. But those are just some. There are 39 total players who so far have not been able to go to Toronto because they're unvaccinated. But they have games in Toronto. The Blue Jays have games against. They just played Detroit. They played the Guardians. They played the Orioles. They played the Angels, the Cubs, the Rays, the Orioles again, the Yankees, and Boston to finish out the year. So we're learning these names as it comes out. I don't even want to get into should you get vaxxed, should you not, because that's not debated on this podcast. The main thing I want to talk about is that my argument for this is that these players are choosing their self-interest over their team's success. And I feel like it's very selfish of them. And again, two of these players are just got traded, and then some of these players are, potentially gonna have to play in Toronto in the playoffs. So I want to keep that up. Keep that in mind. Is that what I want to ask this, Ben? What if the Cubs are going to be going to Toronto later? I think it's next week. What would you say is a compelling case to get vaccinated solely from the perspective of as a competitor playing a sport where you're gonna have to travel and do this? What's your argument, or what do you think about this?
If the idea is that, if that's what you're looking at it as, and not, so if you've made it this far, an hour and 12 minutes in, you obviously heard me yelling earlier about this exact thing. So I was the type of and I was not, some athletic marvel by any means. Don't let my, bowling ball shape fool you. You know what I mean? I wasn't great by any means, but I like to imagine I played with I have a certain mindset of like, if you're on a team, you're on a team. You don't bail on them, right? You do everything you can as a unit, as a together entity to accomplish a goal. Is kind of what I always thought a team was, right? Like the assembly line um, idea of working together as a well-oiled machine. All of these cliches, all of the things that you've heard throughout time in sports, for all sports, any team sport, right? So I'd like to think that I'm that kind of guy. That's what I would do if I knew that it was going to potentially cost my team the World Series. If I didn't do this, I would do it. Right? I don't care enough about the public perception, I guess, because I know that's what we're trying to avoid, not really getting into. I think we all agree that you should be vaccinated at this point. It's ludicrous that we're even having this conversation, but these guys, I don't know, man. It's hard because I'm in the mindset of do whatever you can to win the ultimate goal, which is to achieve a championship for your team, whatever that may be.
Right.
So I think but this is also coming from a person who is fully vaccinated, so it's hard to like separate that from my mind. I guess it is really truly hard to put myself in the mindset of someone who wouldn't get vaccinated or who hasn't been vaccinated, and it's tough. It really is, because it's and now we have something else coming down the line, and God knows what's going to happen with this next thing, and I'd rather really not get into it. The state that I'm in, and the state that you're in, Jake, just declared public health emergencies for it, because it is a thing, and it is very serious, and it is the next thing that's coming down the line that we need to be prepared for, and if that means getting vaccinated, like this, there might be a whole nother wave of need for vaccination, and how is that? And Canada is not going to all of a sudden change if it's this as opposed to COVID, right? They're not just going to be like, oh, well, this is different, so you guys don't have to worry about getting vaccinated. No, it's not going to fucking change. So that we're just going to have this conversation over again. You know what I mean? And there's not going to ever be a way to mandate that everybody should be vaccinated, because that's a dangerous precedent in and of itself. You should have the freedom to not do it if you don't want to do it, despite what we think that you should get it done. And it's tough to like tell these guys, hey, again, and it all comes back to money. And I think that's as American and human as anything else, is that it comes back to money. Is if you're comfortable losing the money because you're still Andrew Benintendi and you're still getting like $16 million this year, or whatever it is, $13 million this year. If you're willing to take a hit of whatever that chunk is, you're cool. You know what I mean? Like, maybe you play it out and you're like, maybe Canada changes next year. Maybe they loosen it, and then I don't have to worry about it anymore. You know what I mean? It's like, so maybe you don't care. Maybe you just don't care, and you're not interested in the long term success of your team, and you're just a first person, like a me first kind of guy. And maybe that's who they are, and that's kind of how it feels when you're willing to make a decision like that. For the betterment of, I guess, the betterment of your betterment of you over the success and long term success of the team.
Dallas, what do you think? I know you're eating, so I'll give you a second. But
What kind of chips are those?
Yeah, what are you eating?
You guys can't hear me, all right?
We can absolutely hear you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, could you guys hear me chewing?
Yes.
You hear the loud ass crunch from the other room. Yeah. Sound like you're chewing on cinder blocks, my guy. You're like mulching on dead leaves in the middle of fall.
Yeah, I can't twig. I swear, yeah. I was chewing on them. Man.
Also, we are watching you do this repeatedly. You know this, right? Like, putting food up to your face. Like, what did you think this motion? What did you think we thought this motion?
I knew you guys could see me eating, so I was like, "That's fine." Now I feel like I'm watching you guys talk to each other, and like you guys can't hear me, so it's like very horrible.
We could hear you.
Yeah. So,
Dallas, if you want to get muted, just let me know.
Veggie straws.
Oh, look at that.
I was just thinking this though, like veggie straws that says veggies, but they just taste like potato chips.
Pork rinds are cool.
Is it just one? I actually enjoy pork rinds with hot sauce.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Never have.
You really? With a little bit of hot sauce on them? Bro, that's what my dad used to eat. There's a reason he's dead.
Okay. Okay.
That's what it was.
All right.
Yeah,
pork.
That was it.
Got back to him. Got on his ass real quick.
All right, so I want to, an acquaintance of mine writes for a Cardinals blog, and his article, which I can't put in the show notes, in the links or the description, all that. He wrote this article simply because this was when the Cardinals had to go to Toronto, and two of their big players couldn't go. And he wrote an article, said, it's titled, let's see, you absolutely absolutely do not have to respect their decision. And what his point was that he accepts it, he can understand it to some degree, but that he doesn't have to respect it. So I would like to take that same stand when it comes to any of this. Is that solely as a baseball player trying to be on the field playing for a team? I don't have to I don't have to respect it. I just have to accept it. Is that players are just gonna do what they want, just like people, and I don't have to respect their choice, but I have to accept it.
Yeah, I mean, they're no different than any other walk of life. I have a I have a thing I want to get to when we do our closing arguments about something I'm angry about, and we'll get there. But that just reminded me of that. So thank you. But go ahead. Yeah, we can move on to the next thing, because at this point you're exactly right. I mean, I don't like it, but there's nothing I can do about it. You can't make them do it. So I mean, it is what it is.
Maybe in the future we'll be able to get on a player or someone who's directly affected by their teammate or something like that, and we could talk to them. That'd be good. So, Dallas, did you want to add something, or do you want to move forward?
You guys pretty much hit the nail on the head, man.
Good
All
job,
right,
man.
So, I have on the outline Commissioner. I was about to see, like, I'm getting old. So, Commissioner Rob Manfred is still being stupid
Yeah.
about paying minor leaguers. And to some degree, I don't want to talk about this because I feel like even this deserves a longer topic to get into, dive deep into what he said exactly. But he is still maintaining that they should be exempt from paying minimum wage, and that they are paying a living wage, and the idea that they're not is to him offensive. That's all.
What I don't understand is, and maybe you have the number, in front of you. I don't. But what would it cost Major League Baseball to pay every minor leaguer the minimum wage, $15 an hour or whatever it is, at least in Illinois, right? To pay, I mean, let's just say it's in the millions of dollars, because it's not in the billions of dollars, because that's ludicrous. Let's just say it's in the millions of dollars. We just talked about how much it costs for 4 people to go to one game at one stadium. $300. Okay. The Cubs have no less than 40,000 people at the stadium at one time. So if you multiply that 300 by 10,000 people, because you divide it by 4, you're going to get a pretty goddamn big number that Major League Baseball could collectively take from essentially one weekend's worth of games and pay all minor league baseball players for the entire year. To the fact that they don't have to work crazy 2, 3, 4 jobs in the offseason, sleep on the floor somewhere just to try to make it doing the thing that they love. That's not an insane idea, I don't believe. And Rob Manfred has no fucking idea what he's talking about. He's one of those old rich guys that are so disconnected from what it means. Like when you ask Bill Gates what a loaf of bread costs, and he's like, I don't know, because I'm goddamn Bill Gates and I haven't walked in a grocery store in, I don't know, 30 years. You know what I mean? Like they're just so disconnected from the everyday human, everyday normal thing, that if you made Rob Manfred live the life of a double A baseball player for a week, he would write the check himself at the end of that week. He would write the check himself out of what he makes in a year, which he could easily pay. So I think it is absolutely ludicrous that we're still having this conversation. We had this conversation episodes ago. I mean, Dan was still on the damn podcast, and we were talking about this when the lockout was happening. Okay, was paying minor leaguers. We're in episode 34. We are on Walter Payton's episode, and you're going to tell me that we still haven't figured this out, that this asshole still doesn't understand what the hell is going on? I just don't understand. I don't get it. I get that he works for the owners and he's the owner's guy, right? Like that's his position in the sport. But how can the owners think this is a good look? Like I get they don't want to spend any more money, so they're all about not cutting more checks. But you're still fucking rich beyond reason. You're rich beyond reason. You make more money in okay. I'm done. I'm just getting fired up, and it's late. It's like 10
No,
o'clock,
no,
and
Ben, go ahead. You're fine.
no.
You
I'm
got
done.
space.
I'm getting fired up about it, but it's just frustrating, man, because they're not asking for much. They're asking for a literal livable wage. The bare minimum is all they're asking for. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I didn't want to get into it. But that's got to head out. All right. We'll
Yeah.
see, bro.
Sorry, guys. All right, guys. Thanks for
Bye,
having me.
Bye, Dale. All right, let's get out of here. So, you know what, Ben, I didn't even want to get into exactly everything he said, but I feel like it deserves a significant time to talk through and really dissect everything. And I, as you know, we agree on this, is that a minor league baseball player is making half of minimum wage, if that, for the year. And so again, if you understand everything about their contracts, what's expected of them, where they have to live, all that stuff, you would come to the conclusion that either A, I need to make, this is all about money, and I need to maximize profits. I don't care what it takes, maximize profits, or B, we have to pay these guys more money. There's only two options. You value profits or you value paying people. That's it.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's very obvious. And again, we'll get into exactly what he said later, because again, I feel like it needs all of our attention and maybe an entire episode or something like that to break down and talk about it. But yeah, so let's actually, before we do both get fired up about it, let's move to the Hall of Fame. And again, all this stuff happened in the 3 or 4 weeks that we last talked.
Eventful time in baseball, I tell you.
So there was the Hall of Fame induction. So Ben, I'm going to ask you one question, and that's really it. I'm going to move forward. Is the announcement of the Hall of Fame bigger than the induction?
I would say yes. And here's why. There's the intrigue, the mystery, who's going to get in. We have all the steroids, right? That's kind of floating around up here. Those fringe guys, the McGuires, or not McGuires, but your Clemens and your Bonds and those kind of guys are all up there. And there's mystery, there's intrigue. You can keep your votes anonymous. You can hide. You can get your 100% induct in Mariano Rivera and Derek G, and guys who get close. It's cool. Like it's a fun reveal for sports or for baseball fans. I imagine it's kind of like the Oscars in a way, where how there's like intrigue and there's kind of suspense and people are putting up their showcases. They're putting up their careers, their stats, their numbers on the lines. Whereas like if you were an actor, you're this is my movie. This is what I was able to accomplish and grade me off of. It's cool, man. I mean, I think the problem with the induction is they should, if again, part of maybe the overhaul for All Star Weekend, make it a bigger part of All Star Weekend. Like, I know you don't watch wrestling, and maybe a few of the people who watch this do, but at the WWE for WrestleMania every year, they do their Hall of Fame induction. And they get inducted the night before, so they all give their speeches and they do all their stuff the night before. And then during WrestleMania, they get another chance to come out and be broadcast and showcased in front of the giant, large, magnificent crowd. So imagine, like, during the third inning, when the home team is, when they're flipping and home team's coming up to bat, just roll out some red carpets on the first and third base line and introduce the Hall of Famers again. You know what I mean? Like, just do a little something, do something cool, include them to make it maybe more of a bigger deal. But I think as of now, for us, just being like more nerds of the sport, the intrigue and kind of hidden aspect of who might get in and who's going to be part of this illustrious class of baseball Hall of Famers, which to us still means something,
Yeah. In my one opinion is that the induction is for people who love baseball and they love history, but the announcement is for everyone. People who don't know baseball have an opinion, and that's why it's a bigger deal, is that everyone can talk about it. The induction is for baseball. If you want to say nerds, they're nerds. But the announcement just garners, media, it garners a debate, it garners podcast episodes. So I'd say that it's a bigger deal. I agree with you that it should be a bigger deal. I think the All-Star game is a good idea. They should find other ways too, other things to highlight that. So so I did watch that. So
it was cool.
It's gonna move forward. So last thing is that again, all this happened in between. So the MLB draft happened, and the only two real headlines to me as someone who actually cared a little bit about this is that there were two high schoolers taken number 1 and number 2. Shortstop was the first pick, and he is the son of Matt Holliday.
Yep.
And number 2 is Drew Jones. I believe number 1 pick was Jackson Holliday.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I think that's right.
So number 2 was Drew Jones, son of Andrew Jones, was picked number 2. I thought that was
White Sox great, Andrew Jones.
Played for the White Sox?
Yeah, dude, the White Sox have a tendency to always get old guys, like French Hall of Famers past their prime. They had Manny for a little bit. They had Andrew Jones for a little bit. They had Griffey for a little bit. So the White Sox do it like that. But yeah, anyways, Andrew Jones and Matt Holliday. I mean, crazy to think that we basically saw their whole careers, though, huh? And now their kids are in the league.
Yeah, let's not get into that. So, number 1 and number 2, I thought were cool. There were 18-year-olds that got massive contracts. I know Drew Jones, the number 2 pick, already had surgery. He's out for a year, but either way, he's 18. That was the first headline. Number 2 is that the Cubs, because we're Cubs fans, the Cubs picked Cade Horton, number 9. The starting pitcher who really popped off in the College World Series this year. Ben, do you know anything about how? I want you to guess. How long do you think he's been pitching? Over or under 3 years?
That seems like a small number, so I'm gonna have to say under, because it seems like too small of a number. Like, because you're either playing since you've been 5 years old or some ridiculously short number. But yeah.
All right, so that's my fault. My bad on that. So yes, it is under 3. He's only been pitching for 2 years, and really only been pitching with 3 pitches for less than 6 months.
It's an interesting pick.
And he was dominant in that time. Helped Oklahoma get very far in the World Series. But the major point is that he also was a hitter. He was a third baseman up until about 2 years ago, so he can possibly still hit. So maybe we have an Otani on our hands. I don't know. Maybe.
Maybe.
All right, so that's really the only 2 things I cared about from the draft.
Mine was Kumar Rocker going to the Rangers.
Yeah. Right.
My guy. Or my team, my West Coast boys, the Rangers. Getting him and Leiter back together, that's going to be fun. And I'm just saying, I might have said this year, but I meant within 5 years that the Rangers were going to be good. That's what I said. That's what I meant.
Bro.
But yeah, no, I thought that was the one that stuck out to me. I thought that was cool. And how pitcher heavy the Cubs went was the other thing. It seemed like every pick was a starter or was a pitcher of some kind. I like the idea though. If you can, dude, I mean Thompson and Steele look really good. So if you can kind of form a real rotation around those guys and any of these younger arms, maybe, but we'll see.
Well, you do have to think, if you look at their top 10 prospects, the Cubs, they're all position players. I mean, outside of Caleb Killian and was it Wick? They have 2 pitchers who are in their top 10, but really it's position player heavy, so they went heavy on pitchers. So we'll see.
Good balance. It's a good idea. Yeah, it's a good trade-off.
We'll see in about 5-6 years.
Yeah.
All right, so that kind of wraps up all the topics. And again, we could have went even further deeper into every one of these things, but we won't. So, Ben, you had something that popped into your mind earlier in the episode for our home plate, our soapbox time. Is there something do you remember that?
Yeah, we were talking about something on the fringe of legality. I don't remember exactly what. But it made me think of Deshaun Watson and the Browns situation and how absolutely unjustifiable and ugly. Oh, I think we were talking about Manfred, but how just unjustifiable it is to me and ugly it is to me that he gets 6 games. Dude, he settled 23 cases against himself. He settled personally.
Yeah.
The Houston Texans settled 30 games. Or 30 claims against him with women. He's got 66 total allegations, and he gets 6 games.
Yeah,
I was watching this show on ESPN, and somebody was like, today's ruling made if you're a woman who's dating an NFL player, this ruling made your life more at risk. It made your life more in danger. It made your life mean less. And that really hit me because it was crazy to think of it that way. You know what I mean? Like, oh, he did all this stuff and he only got X amount of games, that maybe I can get away with X, Y, and Z and only get so many games. You know what I mean? And I just think that it's disgusting that they even got that far. MLB, for them, for what they're lacking in so much, their domestic violence and domestic disputes and their sexual stuff is a lot stricter. Their steroids is like, boom, 50 games or whatever it is, 50 games, 100 games, life, or 100 games, full season life. You know what I mean? And I just think the NFL could take something maybe from the strictness of Major League Baseball's rules and punishments in the future and take some precedence in mankind, because there's no other job in America. In my job, Jake, if I had 66 sexual assault allegations against me, I would not work there. There would
You would not be in this podcast.
Dude, there would be no $230 million guaranteed waiting for me. There would be no the Browns set it up so that he only gets paid $1 million his first year, so that he only loses X amount of dollars when he gets suspended for the 6 games. That's disgusting, bro. That means you don't give a shit about these women at all. And these are the people who have daughters and mothers and sisters and aunts, cousins and grandmas.
But even more than that, I mean, as much as I agree, but as much as that, like, even if I didn't have, like, I do have obviously a mother, a sister, I have a wife, I have a young daughter. If you are a single man, you should care about the women and how they're perceived, objectified, treated, regardless of your relationships. Like, care, they're human beings. How in the world is this? How is it okay? But the question I have is that how pissed is Trevor Bauer?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, basically 2 full seasons at this point, right?
And again, I know, and I'm saying, not saying it's like less
But at the
horrible,
same,
but like it's possibly three, and you have but in some weird way, I'm like, yeah, I don't care. I don't care. Trevor
but
Bauer's pissed.
I was just patting MLB on the back, and then I realized that people like Odubel Herrera and Osuna on the Braves are playing right now, and
Yeah.
they got accused and charged and convicted of much worse. Aroldis Chapman. It just involved. So that was my thing, man. Like it really bummed me out as somebody who who does have all these amazing women in my life. It's just it's hard to see that literally half of humanity is subject to different rules and regulations than the other half for no other reason other than they're just different. They're just women to us, to our men. You know what I mean? Like if the roles were reversed, it wouldn't even be a thing. So I don't know. That's whatever. That's my there. I'm done.
Yeah. You want another sport. I'm gonna go another sport just to go with it. Is that I'm not sure if the day count as of right now recording, but Brittany Griner is still detained in Russia.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say that again. Regardless if she's a WNBA player or not, Brittany Griner is detained in Russia and in prison for an allegation. And obviously, things with Russia are not like super cozy right now.
Yeah, it's not the best situation.
And she's been there for a long time. And, we can do all these gestures and we can put her name in the back of our jerseys and all this stuff, which is all great. But, again, caring about women. Like, obviously they're going through that process, and this not a basketball or obviously politics, but the point being is that like we should care and talk about it a lot more than we are. I feel like there are days, weeks we never even talk about it, and it's
Somebody
still a
said
thing.
if it was LeBron James, it would be front page. It would be the most important story in America. If he was
Hour.
being detained overseas in a country in which we have forever beef with, that would be the news story.
If he was detained for an evening, it would
Yeah,
be
dude.
international.
Even if he had like a little bit of weed, just like Brittany Griner had, and was pulled over or was arrested for it, dude, it would be Skip Bayless's head would fucking explode. He wouldn't even know what to do with himself. He would just, you know what I mean? Like the entire news media circle would implode. And to your point, this poor woman and Paul Wayland, I believe is the gentleman's name, who's also being held in
Right.
Russia, unlawfully. It's like, it's crazy for these poor people, dude. Could you imagine? Like, I put myself in this situation where I think, like, I love to travel, but one of the things that stresses me out is that I don't speak a lot of languages other than English, and I'm
Right.
barely good at that, right? So the opportunity to, like, go to another country is exciting and it's fun. Like, when I went and visited my wife in Paris, and then in Rome, and then we also went to Paris, right? But, like, there's something in the back of my head, like, if something goes down, or if I'm fucked, like, I don't know how, I can't communicate. And so that scares me. And then it also flips it on their head when people come here and they're put in jail and they can't defend because they can't speak English and they can't defend themselves. And it's, the whole system is rigged. And it's a messed up situation, man. And it's so scary. And to your point, it's such an important thing that needs to be talked about more. And it's an absolute shame that it's not.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll definitely keep that up to date. So, Ben, I know you said that I was keeping you guys up to date on all the trades and stuff. And I was like, I hope he doesn't know there were a lot more trades than I posted. Because if there were only like 20 or something, that'd be great. But there's not. So, you know what?
You should go on Facebook and check that out if you want a full or a much more in depth than what we talked about on the pod. I know Jake updated it. He's been putting a lot of pictures up there. So
Yeah, so if you've again, we say this a lot. If you've listened all the way to this point, go on the Instagram. If you don't have an Instagram, you can at least go on there and look at the profile. The profile is family bases, like baseball bases, family bases pod. On Instagram and TikTok, we post pretty consistently. So check it out. Support us. Do whatever. Subscribe if you're watching. Subscribe if you're listening. Share it to someone else. This is the longest we're going, and we had some stuff to catch up on.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we had to catch up on a lot of things. We haven't spoken in basically. I mean, we've spoken obviously almost every day, but we haven't spoken face to face or
Screen to screen.
Computer. Yeah. In a couple weeks. So obviously we had a lot to catch up on in the real world, and then I've kind of rambled on about a lot of things that have been on my mind in the sports world that need to be taken more seriously, in my opinion. So the little bit that I can put out there for whoever hears this, that's an important thing. So
yeah, and this is going to wrap up episode 34 of the Family Based Pod. My name is Jake.
And I am Dragon.
Our Dragon, there's Nighthawk had to log off early, I think.
Yeah, 'cause he's an old bitch.
I don't know. I mean, I'm on West Coast time, so it's a lot earlier for me right now. But anyway, so we'll wrap up this episode. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.